All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Ole Miss After Dark. Me and Hitch are back with you to talk about the weekend and the shit show that it was. So obviously, things did not really go our way in Baton Rouge on Saturday night. And this is for the fans, okay? Let me go ahead and get that out there first and foremost. If you're stopping by to check out the X's and O's of what happened, this is more of a therapy session for the Ole Miss fans, the ones that have done this over and over and over again, just like I have, just like Hitch has. Got 37 years into it, and they finally got me to believe that something was different, right? That this was going to be a different team. This was going to be a different year, right? We go out in the transfer portal. We get all of these guys. You have the last dance mantra that they have coming into the year. It's playoff or bust. Well, guess what, folks? It's about to bust real quick. You've already got 2 losses. You still got Georgia on the schedule. You still got Oklahoma coming up. These are no gimme games. Hell, with this offense, there is no gimme games, right? You still got to go to Fayetteville. You think you can just waltz in there and win that game? You're out of your damn mind. All right. This is not how this season was supposed to go. And you've gotten me for the last time. You reeled me in. You made me believe that this was going to be this special season. And now you've laid an egg on me.
Yeah. Hey, right there, that was me against Kentucky. Yep.
I mean, it's unbelievable because this is a game that you had no business losing whatsoever, just like Kentucky. I said it after the Kentucky game, and I will echo it right here.
I know what you're fixing to say
in that game. No point in the game where it ever crossed my mind that we were losing it. We were never going to lose that game. We completely dominated. I saw it this morning. We held a lead for 59 minutes and 33 seconds of a 60-minute game on the road in Death Valley. And you lose. They're finding ways to lose, Hitch. They left 17 points on the field in the first quarter. Right? You hit Trey Harris there. That's a touchdown. You missed the field goal. All right, that's 17 points that you're leaving out there in the first quarter alone. It should have been over with. Okay? It should have been over with at that point. And then you have the turnovers. I don't know what's going on with Dart's arm. Okay, he had Caden Lee. If he just would have let him into the end zone, he underthrows him there, and that gets picked off. That's another. At least 3 points, hopefully, if we can make a field goal, that you're leaving out on the field right there. You have that fumble right before halftime, right? You're trying to get downfield, and I get it. I have no problems with trying to get down there with what's supposed to be an explosive offense, but it obviously isn't an explosive offense. Not unless you're playing Furman or Middle Tennessee State or somebody like that, because we haven't seen that explosiveness ever since we've entered SEC play. And the one real big shot we did have against an SEC team, against South Carolina, Juice Wells fumbles it out of the back of the end zone. Speaking of which, where's he been so far this year, right? Big addition out of the transfer portal. Going to be opposite of Trey Harris. With all of these receiver weapons, I don't think he's going to make a contested catch all year long. Dart put it on him last night, and he goes up, and yes, it's a tough catch. It's contested, but a big-time receiver goes up. When he gets his hands on that ball, he comes down with it. And he didn't do that either. It seems like when Trey Harris goes out of the game, this offense doesn't have a clue what to do.
Yeah, you're right. Hey, and two, so let's downshift a second, and we can talk about. Hold on. Here's what you mentioned: the Trey Harris being out of the offense, and this offense doesn't know what to do. All right. So talking about the offense for a second, I think that Caden Lee had a great game trying to step into that role when Trey Harris isn't in the offense, right? So kudos to him. Great game. And the one thing that I want to get out there before we get too far down this road is welcome back, Ulysses Bentley. I don't know where you've been. I think this is part of mine and Diz's frustration with this team is that when we do see him, he breaks off a huge touchdown run and is probably the better back throughout the rest of the game. Only had 11 carries, and I don't know if Henry Parrish picked up a blitz all night, and maybe Bentley could have been better there. But yeah, you said that about the Trey Harris going out on offense, and it's not like we haven't had guys try to step up. and be that person on offense when Trey Harris goes out. But it's like to me, it's the offensive line. The offensive line is the problem.
Every one of them. There is not a single good offensive lineman that played in Baton Rouge last night. Not one. Not a single one that came into that game. Jackson Dart, for all of the troubles that he had, right? And look, he underthrew some guys. We've been talking about underthrows for 3 weeks now.
I've
Right?
got
I don't know
some thoughts.
what's going on with his arm. And some of it is pressure, right? Yeah, but these guys can't keep people off of Jackson Dart. They can't pick up blitzes. Your running backs can't pick up blitzes. For all of the Quinshon Judkins stuff that, Ole Miss fans like to throw around, that's one thing he did. He was a hell of a pass protector, right? And that's why he was in there so much. I understand why he's not with Ole Miss, and I'm not getting down a Quinshon Judkins road because it doesn't matter. But you have to be able to pick up those kinds of blitzes. Where's Caden Prescorn at? He was one of the
things those are the things that not auxiliary, but a fan who is just looking at, we're losing a lot of rushing yards, or we're not losing that much because Quinshon Judkins goes to Ohio State. There's a deeper part of it, right? But there's more to the game than just his rushing yards, and what we're seeing when we face an elite defensive front like that is that the running backs we have, the running backs that are playing right now, aren't great at picking that blitz up.
No, and look, Quinshon's slow. I get it. But that man is going to make an NFL roster for his pass pro alone. For that reason alone, he has the ability to be a 3-down back in the NFL. But that's enough of Quinshon Judkins. He's not on this
I interrupted you on Prescorn. Go ahead. Keep talking about Prescorn.
Yeah. So Prescorn, he was this really good run blocker last year too. We did such a good job of keeping him in there to help out this offensive line. And then you go out and you bring in all of these other guys, 2 Washington transfers, and then you bring in Jerquan Scott. You've got all of these guys coming in that's supposed to boost this offensive line. I know Jaden Williams is hurt. That sucks, right? Because he's been our best offensive lineman all year. He completely locked down the left side of that line and Dart's blind side. But we couldn't keep that man upright all night long. We didn't pick up a single blitz. He was running for his damn life from the word go, right? And, that leads to some of the stuff that Jackson's having trouble with. Now, don't get me wrong. He had his own troubles in clean pockets and stuff like that when we were able to keep him off. When we kept the quick throws going, getting it out of his hand, he still had a little bit of trouble. But we're not going to hit those deep shots when the man's under pressure as much as he was. I shared this with you earlier today, Hitch, and I'm just going to go back to it real quick. This was TJ Oxley, I believe, that tweeted this out. He's from the Rebel Walk. Jackson Dart was pressured on 21 of his dropbacks against LSU. He has been pressured 70 times this year. 70.
Yeah.
All the money you spend on those offensive linemen to come in here, and you can't protect him. This is the second most in the SEC. 28% of his dropbacks, he's been pressured, okay? When he's kept clean, he completes 77% of his passes, 13 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. When pressure, 42%.
Yeah. I think that the pressure is having a lot to do with the Jackson Dart underthrows and things. I don't know. I see a lot of people talking about he may be hurt. I don't. To me, he doesn't look hurt. To me, he looks timid. All right, so I'm a baseball guy, right? Let me give you a baseball example. You hear all the time about a pitcher who aims the ball. He's aiming it. He's not pitching. He's not throwing. He's trying to place the ball. To me, when I see Jackson Dart, when I see him make most of his throws, I see 2 things. He's on his back foot for most of them. He doesn't, even when he has a clean pocket, a lot of times I don't see him step into a throw and throw one. Right. A lot of times he looks like a shortstop who has fielded a ball and is off his back foot trying to get it to the first baseman quickly, like he's trying to be quick with it. So anyway, I see him off his back foot. And then when he lets it go, he's trying to just place it. He's not he's not throwing the ball. I don't necessarily see a great follow through because he's just trying, like that ball that he threw in the end zone where it should have been caught by the receiver or thrown out of the back of the end zone. You cannot underthrow that ball there.
Yep.
And it really looked like he was trying to be just very precise, which, and I know how stupid that sounds. But when you are that way, what happens is your arm and your body is most of the time going to take something off of your throw. You're gonna underthrow that ball. And so you just got to let that one go. You got to let it fly. You got to trust your arm. You got to trust your receiver. And that should have been a touchdown. But yeah, that, I don't see him hurt. I see him, and timid is not the word I'm looking for either. It's just he's been on the run. He's been running for his life the whole year. And now that has kind of become the mindset of give me the ball. I got to get rid of it quickly. So he's on his back foot and he's not throwing it. He's aiming it. And that's leading to these underthrows and some missed opportunities, I think.
Well, I think what a lot of it is you hear about young players when they first get into this league, freshmen, sophomores, the acclimation process of trying to let the game slow down, right? Let the game come to you, let it slow down. That way you can process everything. He had gotten to that point. Everything had slowed down for him. He could see what was going to happen before it happened, and that's what made him so good last year and at the beginning of this year. What is happening now? The game has sped up so fast for him because his internal clock is thinking, I've got to get this ball out a second earlier than what I'm used to doing it. So everything's speeding up for him, and that's where everything kind of gets thrown off balance with him. And that's why you see a lot of throws off of his back foot, I think, because he's sitting there thinking, I don't have as much time as I'm used to having. Everything has to be sped up in order for this to work. So I think that's also part of it as well. And by the way, I'm going to touch on this real quick too, Hitch. You brought up baseball. All you people out there that wanted to fire Mike Bianco, I hope y'all keep that same energy for another coach that has raised the bar of a program and getting paid all of this money and not delivering. Okay. And for the record, I don't think either one of them should be fired. But if you want to fire a man who takes a baseball program from the ashes and builds it up into a top 10 national program and actually delivers a national championship for you, then let's show that same kind of energy for a football coach that has brought us back from the ashes and risen us to national promise, right? And actually got us to believe that we could do something special here. So, yeah, I hope y'all keep that same energy for a football coach, too, and not just keep it on Mike Bianco, because he's the only one on campus that's actually delivered for us. But anyway, going back to this game, though, again, the offense was obviously a problem. Bentley was a bright spot. Caden Lee was a bright spot. And that pretty much ended the bright spots on that side of the ball. Defense, I thought, played really well. They got put in a lot of tough positions. We weren't able to keep drives going, I felt like, Hitch, to really give the defense much of a rest or put them in better positions to come up with stops. Now, we had our own issues there, obviously, defensively. You can go straight to the end of the regulation there where it's fourth down and they end up getting the touchdown to tie it, send it into overtime. But overall, outside of the lack of pressure, that's the one thing that I kept coming back to. I think we had 3 hurries and no sacks on the game, something like that. Something we don't normally see from this Ole Miss defensive line that came in leading the country in sacks with 24. I think a lot of that is credit to the LSU offensive line, though. That was a matchup that we knew was going to be tough for this unit. Credit to LSU. They have 2 first-round tackles out there. And when you have guys like that on the edges and you're allowed to hold Walter Nolan for every single play of the game, that's usually going to be a recipe for success to keep your quarterback clean.
Yeah, I mean, my between screaming "Go Bentley, go!" and he threw it off his back effing foot again. Man, I wish we would bring more than 3 people on third down. Right after screaming that throughout the game, I bet my neighbors think I'm a psychopath. But man, and let me look. You know what? I could be completely wrong. I want to. How were they on third down? Did they have 6 for 16? So I mean, they weren't great on third down. But man, golly, it seemed like every third and long every third and long they hit, I don't know. Did we bring more than 4 people like the entire night? It
Uh,
didn't feel like
if
it
so, it
felt
wasn't
like
very much.
zero pressure. And
Mm-hmm.
I just don't get that because even as as dumb as a football fan as I am, like I know that those guys on the back end can't guard Kyron Lacy and those LSU receivers for 6-7 seconds, right? Like you've got to
Mm-hmm.
get that, and so
You got to get to
that
it.
is that was what was blowing my mind. Was like, oh, I'm not surprised they're getting all these third downs because Nussmeier's getting to just stand back there until somebody comes open.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when you go through and just look at these stats, you would think that Ole Miss won by 3 scores at least, something like that.
Yeah,
You hold Nussmeier to 22 for 51. Okay, that's well
yeah,
below 50% passing. But then you look and he has 337 yards. You end up picking him off twice, but even talking about third downs, like you were bringing up, they were 6 for 17. Ole Miss was 11 for 22. We one time of possession, 50% on third down, 2 for 3 on fourth down. Let's see, we ended up with where are we at here? 180 rushing yards, and only held LSU to 84. They still didn't top 100 yards, which is something we felt like LSU needed to do to control this game, right? To control the clock, keep the Ole Miss offense off the field, and try to wear down this Ole Miss defense. And just shows you how stupid of a game this is, man, because none of that happened, and they still somehow came out with a win. And I say somehow, it's actually pretty easy to figure out how that happened. All you got to do is look at the red zone for Ole Miss. We kept getting down there, but we only scored in 3 of
mm-hmm.
6 trips. Three
Yeah.
times in 6 trips did we come away with any kind of points whatsoever in the red zone. And you got to think one of Ole Miss's scores was off of that interception, right?
Yeah, and I mean, Lane said
what do
it.
we do?
Yeah, and Kiffin said it either after the first quarter or right before halftime, where he said, we're playing well. I like what we're doing. We just have to score.
Finish. You can't.
Yeah,
You
we have
couldn't
to finish, and just couldn't finish. And it was tough, right? I mean, right there in the first quarter, we had the ball on a turnover and ended up, turning it over on downs. And right then, it was like, oh, that was right after the 3 and out, the missed field goal, and then on downs. And you're like, man, we have had already in this game, we've had 2 opportunities to put points on the board, and it's still 0-0. Speaking of field goals,
Yeah.
Caden Davis missed the one against Kentucky, missed one here. All right. So now, should I be worried about Caden Davis kicking field goals from here on out, or is he just he's okay?
I don't know, man. He's got such a big leg, right?
Yeah.
You saw that with what was it, 57-yarder or whatever they hit there at
Whatever
overtime
it
to put
was.
us up. Yeah, whatever it was. Yeah, I mean, but that's kind of him though. He's going to have a big leg. He's going to struggle with a little bit of accuracy, obviously. But just kind of going back to the Ole Miss side of things here. You look at the drive chart here. Let's see, we end up going 3 and out punting on the first drive. That missed field goal there on the second drive, turnover on downs on the third drive that started at the LSU 13-yard line after an interception, and you turn it over on downs. And then you come back. You actually put together a pretty good drive. You get it after a punt at your own 17-yard line, drive down, get a field goal, and now you feel like things are rolling a little bit. LSU turns it over on downs. We go score a touchdown, and then you get the ball back again, go 75 yards on 11 plays, another touchdown, and then that big fumble there right before the end of the half. Let's see, and then this second half chart, my gosh, man, come out 12 plays, 18 yards, first drive,
my God.
18 yards on 12 plays. Okay, and then of course
That's another
ends
thing
up
we
in
need to
punt.
talk about. Penalties. We need to talk about penalties too. There was 11 or 12. I mean,
It's the same thing over and over and over again with this team, and its penalties keeping you behind the chains, keeps putting you further and further and further back. and it stalls out this offense, right? It should be this big
12.
explosive offense, and they are in the most inopportune times, it seems like.
There were multiple times last night where we were first and 25, second and
Mhm.
34, where we had 12 penalties for 110 yards. Going back to that first half and that downs where we took over that interception.
Yep.
First play, Henry Parrish run. Second play, Henry Parrish run. Third play, Henry Parrish run. Fourth play, Henry Parrish run. All right. Now, I don't know. When people say play calling and people talk about how this is on the coaches and the coordinators or whatever, like most of the time, I don't understand what that means. The way I look at it, the players are on the field. Like coaches need to make good decisions and coaches need to put guys in the right place to be successful. But just as a player, it's like, okay, the win and loss of the game is on the player. It's just my mindset. I'm not saying it's right. But here, take this as an example. When I watched this series last night, I thought just at least make one throw to Trey Harris in this series, right? You ran it 4 times. You turned it over on downs. Just one play, maybe second down, just throw one ball to the best receiver maybe in the country from the 8-yard line. I don't understand why they didn't. And I guess that's what people are talking about when they say they have a problem with the play calling or that the play calling is getting us beat. Am I correct in assuming that?
Yeah, that would be my guess there as well. You know, that's the old saying, right? The definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over and over again, expecting a different result. And that's exactly what happened on that particular drive. That really kind of foreshadowed what was to come for Ole Miss. But again, even after all that, like I said, I still never thought for a second we were going to lose the game. You know, and then you come out and you kick 2 field goals in the second half, obviously not able to put those in the end zone, along with that interception that we've talked about a couple of times when he's trying to hit Caden Lee there in the end zone.
Man, that's a bad
really
interception,
frustrating. Bad interception, man. You know, and then we fumbled twice as well and end up losing one of those. So, I mean, you go in there, you don't score in the red zone, you have over 100 yards of penalties, and you turn the ball over. And we still should have won the game. That's the frustrating part about it, is you do everything you're not supposed to do, and there's still no reason we should have lost. But we did. We did. We ended up losing to LSU in Baton Rouge again. Same old story over and over and over again. But now the Rebels get 2 weeks off, get to come back and play, what is it, Oklahoma, I believe it is, here in a couple of weeks, back at the Vault. No other way to say it. Backs against the wall, Hitch. You got to win out to have a shot. It's the only chance that this season ends up not being a failure is you win every game from here on out. You go 10-2 and try to get into the playoffs. Outside of that, the entire season's been a failure.
Sure. Yeah. I think so.
You agree there?
Yeah. No, I agree that I hate to use the word failure, but yeah, I mean, there's not really a better one. You're right. Well, I'm sorry, I was distracted. I was trying to find the standings, but I couldn't get to them quick enough to see like what's left and like what the path to the playoff would be for Ole Miss, right? Like, because we've had some things happen in the SEC that, I mean, I allow for a 2-loss team to probably be in competition now. Everybody has been beaten, right?
Except Texas.
Okay, yeah. All right. So I mean, at least everybody has 1 loss. You've got we've still got Georgia. We've still got Oklahoma. It could still be a playoff run for this team, but you just gotta win out. I saw some tweets, or I'm sorry, some X images of Jackson Dart after the game last night, and he looked like Darth Vader from the Phantom Menace. Hayden Christensen, he looked like that character. He was beaten. I hope that he bounces back from that, right? Because you definitely don't want to go into the Oklahoma game beaten down and downtrodden and down on yourself. That doesn't work. And I'm sure he won't. But man, he did look like a beaten man in that press conference last night.
Yeah, yeah. Well, look, that's basically every Ole Miss fan after that game last night too. Because, like I said, they've gotten us to believe we thought this was going to be the year that something could actually happen. And look, I'm glad they're taking it just as hard as we are because they need to. They got to get in there and they got to figure some things out because your margin of error has officially gone down to zero. There's nothing left. You can't lose again, and if you do, the season's over with. So that's just the way that
Yeah.
works.
Well,
Before
and
we
look
get
at
out of
it.
here, what?
Well, and you can look at it this way, right? Like you, if coming into this season, if you would have told your said that you had 2 losses, you would have thought your margin of error was gone at 1 loss, right? Like coming into it, we thought 1 loss and that's it. So now you have a second breath, right? You have another opportunity through the goodness of the football gods. They've given you a chance with with Alabama getting beaten, with Georgia getting beaten, and all of these things happening. So you got a little more room for error. Now that's gone. So buckle down and let's finish this thing out.
That's right. So we'll be tuning in each and every week like we always do, and seeing how the Rebels end up playing week to week. But they've got a long way to go to make a run like this. It would be quite impressive if they were able to run the table from here. But before we get out of here, Hitch, let's take a look around the SEC here. It was another really fun week in the league. Alabama almost comes up with their second loss. They did everything they could to try to lose this game to South Carolina, but they end up holding on to a 2-point victory and escaping by the skin of their teeth there in Tuscaloosa.
Yeah, man, I was actually on this one in Alabama. I thought Alabama come out mad and just womp on South Carolina, and it looked like it was going to be that way. But then there was just a small a small bonehead play by Jalen Milroe in the end zone caused the safety, and man, South Carolina really gave them all they wanted after that.
Yeah, they did. So, but good on them for finding a way to win, though. That's one thing we weren't able to do. So that's what good teams and good programs do when your back's against the wall in a game like that. You buckle down and you get a stop or you go get a score, whatever you got to do to make sure you come out on the right side of things. Missouri bounced back in a big way, obviously. Had to travel to Massachusetts for some reason to play UMass, and they went up there and beat them 45-3. One that I was kind of surprised at. I thought this would be a lot closer game than it was. Texas in the Red River rivalry absolutely dismantles Oklahoma. I didn't have a lot of hope for Oklahoma putting up a whole lot of points on Texas. I thought that defense would give the Longhorns a lot more trouble than what it did. They break out for 21 points there in the second quarter, and it was basically over after that. And Texas comes out of there with a 35-3 win.
Yeah, I mean, and it was kind of the same thing in the Alabama game with it. I mean, it was close for a long time. That defense did keep them in it, but I think that the young kid from Oklahoma just missed too many plays, made too many mistakes, and the defense just was on the field for too long for Oklahoma, and finally Texas got to them, and the talent difference in those two programs right now really started to shine through, I think, and Texas was able to, close that one out with a whopping.
Yeah. And then in Athens, Georgia, it was a pretty interesting game, quite frankly, one that never felt like it was in doubt, really. But look, States, for as bad as they are, they're at least playing hard for Levy. You got to give them that. This freshman quarterback they got, Michael Van Buren, had a pretty big day there against the Georgia Bulldogs. Goes for 306 with 3 touchdowns and only 1 pick. And State kind of kept this interesting, right? And Georgia ends up pulling out a 10-point victory, 41-31 at home.
Yeah, and you're right. When I looked at the score, I thought, oh, wow, it's a lot closer than I thought it was going to be, obviously. But, yeah, it was one of those ones I don't think was ever in doubt.
Correct. Yeah, and then in Knoxville, Gators really let one get away from them here. They were up 10-0 on Tennessee. Tennessee battles back. They end up going to overtime. Florida's unable to score. Tennessee puts it in the end zone to come away with a 23-17 victory. Again, really big win for Tennessee coming off that loss to Arkansas. They needed to come back home, get right. They were down like I said, 10 points there for a while. But good team, battled back, found a way to win a close one at home.
Yeah, I didn't watch any of this one. I just kept seeing upset alert pop up down there on the bottom part of the screen, and then it would show me the score. What Graham Mertz got hurt in this one, and the what's his name? The freshman had to come in. Lagway.
Yeah.
I think he played all right. Just Tennessee's a better team there. They win in overtime.
Yeah, and then there's the Ole Miss LSU game. Screw that. Already talked about that once. And then our guy, man, he did it again. Diego Pavia going on the road to Lexington pulls out a big win for the Commodores. They're now 4-2, 2-1 in the SEC, and kind of feels like the Commodores got a little bit of momentum going right now.
Yeah, look, I mean, one of the reasons that this Rebel game didn't hurt my feelings so bad is because this would save my night with this Vanderbilt money line, right? Like it was a big one, but it never really felt like Vanderbilt was out of place on the field here. Like a lot of times you see these, I'm not gonna call them a Cinderella story, but you see these teams that continue to upset people, and it's a trick play here or a whatever happens. But I mean, Vanderbilt went out and just beat Kentucky on the road at Kentucky, and they play. I watched most of it, and man, Diego Pavia is very, very, very good. And if you haven't watched Vanderbilt play, make it a point to watch Vanderbilt play. Clark Lee is fun. Their defense is good. They've got some playmakers right on the outside that can catch the ball. Like they're fun to watch.
And they're so close to being undefeated too. They ended up dropping that game, in Atlanta at Georgia State earlier in the year, and then they're that missed field goal away from beating Missouri. If that field goal goes in, then they're 3-0 in the SEC, and probably don't think anybody would be hollering, watch out for potential SEC championship Vanderbilt. But look, if you were to have gotten to 3-0, then I mean that's at least something you've got to watch for. And look, at 2-1, they're still tied for second in the SEC because Texas is the only one that doesn't have a loss now. So pretty cool story down there with Vanderbilt, Pavia, Lee, that whole group.
I'm glad we don't play them.
Oh, me too. Yeah, that was kind of the running joke coming into this year, right? You can't take away the storied rivalry between Ole Miss and Vanderbilt. Dude, I don't want nothing to do with them right now.
No. You got it, brother.
No, sir. That's right.
Hey, but right, I mean, really, listen to this.
All right.
Sorry. Well, sorry. They have Ball State and Texas. All right, so Ball State, then Texas left, but then they have Auburn, South Carolina, LSU, and Tennessee, right? Like LSU's not the 13th best team in the country, right? Tennessee's not the 8th after I've seen them the past 2 weeks, like Texas. Oh boy, that's interesting. Okay, now we can talk about this on that next week's show or something. But man, I just looked at their schedule after you started talking about Vanderbilt SEC champions. I was like, hang on, man, hold on.
Yeah,
they do get Texas and Tennessee at home.
Okay, so that's something.
That's gonna be fun. I'm gonna map out Vanderbilt's path to national championship.
Yeah, you do that, and we'll talk about that next week sometime on the show. Yeah. But we'll go ahead and wrap it up there, guys. Appreciate y'all joining me for this little therapy session, letting me get all the hate out of my heart that I needed to on this Sunday morning after just an absolutely brutal loss for the Ole Miss Rebels. Kind of our plan for next week. Of course, we will have the gambling show for you again on Wednesday. We are planning, since it's a bye week, we're going to have Will Furnish join the show. Talk a little bit of baseball, fall ball, see how things are going out on the diamond for the Rebels as they gear up for another season here at Swayze. So it'll be fun to talk to Will again, see how everything's going on the baseball field, and I'm sure we'll come up with one or two more things for y'all throughout the week. But this is the bye week. Got to get right. You got 14 days to figure it out and get back on the field and go on some kind of magical run to try to save this thing. So appreciate y'all joining us, and we will talk to y'all again next week. All right, Toddy.
All right, Toddy.